Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Recruitment Entrepreneurs by Recruit CRM. And today I have with me Sacha Martina. And Sasha's from the Netherlands and she runs a couple incredible businesses. And so, Sasha, off to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Thanks, Sean, and thanks for having me. Where do I start?
Let's start all the way back when you were where were you born, right? Let's
Oh wow,
go hardcore.
that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
I was born in 1987
Okay.
in Amsterdam, and I lived in Amsterdam until I was around 6 or 7. Then my parents moved a little bit away from the city center, in like a suburb of Amsterdam, and that's where I grew up. Did my high school, and when I finished high school, I went back to Amsterdam and studied fashion management.
That's cool.
Very, very cool, but very different than where I ended up eventually. Graduated in 2009.
Okay.
So I officially graduated in product development within fashion.
Oh, okay.
Very cool, but if you remember, 2009 was crisis all over the place.
Bad time to be in luxury goods.
Yes, very bad time. So literally no jobs in retail, and not at the level that I graduated for, and I was already at that point too stubborn to get a job below my level, what I thought was below my level. So decided just to do something completely different. I had a sort of a part-time job next to my studies at an IT consultancy agency, where I did office management and small HR related tasks. And there I sort of fell in love with recruitment.
So you were doing recruitment there as a college student?
Well, not a recruitment as it should be, but they just handed me some little tasks to do. And there I think it's the foundation started that I was curious to find out more about this business. And I get to do more and more in a period of 6 to 12 months. Eventually, other people also saw that I apparently had a talent for matchmaking.
And that paid job, Sasha? Was that the first job that you got paid for, like a full-time job?
It was not a full-time job, but it was a paid job. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
But that was, I think, the stepping stone to my recruitment career, because they could not offer me a full-time job there. They basically pushed me a little bit. Like, you should put your resume online. There's a lot of agencies are looking for talent. And that's when I landed my first job.
And where was that?
My first job was for a company called Michael Bailey Associates.
Okay.
It's a British IT contracting recruitment firm. And they are still always on the lookout for smart, eager, talented graduates. So I started there as a rookie recruiter, had no idea what IT recruitment was about, but I just sort of faked my way to it.
Watching this show, right? We're interested about how this works. As a rookie, like year one graduate recruiter, how is the compensation set up? Is there any commission plan for first year recruiters, or is it just like a salary and they expect you to learn? How does that?
No. It's very much target and bonus driven.
What was your target for the first year? What was the target they gave you? Do you remember? Because I know.
Yeah, I remember. In order to get a contract renewal, so in the Netherlands, most companies start up with a 7-month contract.
Okay.
That's a fixed contract, and you have 1 month of probation. Then already you have to pretty much show off.
Yeah.
And then after that, if you survive that first month, you are solid for another 6 months. But in the 6 months, you need to do at least 3 to 4 hires a month.
Wow. Okay, that's quite a. And these are 3 to 4 contract hires, right? So on small projects.
3 to 4 contract hires.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. And what are the contracts like? Are these month-long contracts that you're placing for on an average, or long?
Yeah. IT contracts here in the Netherlands are, I would say throughout Europe are long term, even though it's contracting. Minimum is 6 months. Sometimes contracts can get renewed up to 2, 3, 4 years.
But that's a very high expectation, right? Because if you're doing 3 or 4 every month for 6 months, you're basically making the company like 10 times your salary or something like that.
Oh, I think 20 or 30 times even. Yeah. Well, that was also, I think, my trigger, because when I found out, I did some calculation, of course. Plus, this was an agency that had quite a big margin in between.
Yeah.
So, well, you don't have to be, I think, a mathematic to already do that calculation.
And so, how much do you think you made the company in your first year as a first?
Oh my God, I think honestly millions.
You think you made them $1 million in profit, like in margin?
I think I worked there for 2.5 years. I think I made them $1 million in profit. Yeah.
Over 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And did you get paid, say, 150 in the 2.5 years or less?
No, not at all. Not even close. No. So I think my base salary was 2,300 euros.
Okay, so that's like, is that after taxes?
No, it's before taxes.
Okay, so that was like 27 grand a year, right? But I'm guessing you made tons of commissions because you were doing these crazy numbers.
Well, for my age at that point, I was making tons of commissions. Yes, I thought it was a lot of money because it was. I think I got 250 euros per hire.
And you did 3 or 4 every month.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you were literally making like 50% of your salary in commissions on top of your thing.
Yes. Yes.
When you think about it, it's still nothing, because if they paid you like 40 a year and you made 100 in 2.5 years and you made $1 million in March, like.
I know. But on the other hand, it was giving me, I think, already fuel to see like, okay, I can do this.
Like,
yeah.
Insane.
It's not that difficult. But the whole model of a lot of these agencies. So here in the Netherlands, we have a few business areas where there's a lot of recruitment agencies. They basically all do the same. They hire like eager, smart graduates, and they train them into recruitment robots. And then it's making as much deals as possible and forgetting the whole, I would say, people side of it.
Yeah.
There's no time to build relationships with your clients. There's no time to build relationships with your candidates, because it's on to the next deal, on to the next deal, on to the next deal.
It's very low margin and high volume.
High volume, very KPI driven, yes.
And so, Sacha, you did this for 2.5 years, and then did you start your business right after that, or did you find a new job that paid better? Like, what was the next step in your career?
Already pretty early on, I found out I really, really liked the personal part, the making people happy part of the recruitment job, but I didn't like the fact that it was all about money and margins and KPIs. So the more I get to know people in recruitment, the more I also found out I need to see the other side as well.
Okay.
So I wanted to gain some corporate experience. So I switched after 2.5 years, went to a corporate. Stayed there for almost 2 years and built basically the whole team there.
Is this a company we might have heard of?
I don't think so, because they no longer exist.
Oh wow. Okay.
But I think my first freelance job, you've probably heard of that one. Yeah, it's a very big company. It's called Capgemini.
Yeah, everyone knows Capgemini.
Everybody knows Capgemini. Yes. So it's one of the big 4 or 5 consultancy firms in the world.
Yep.
After the birth of my first daughter, so I have 2 daughters. The first one is called Zoe. She's now 7 years old. So if you do the maths, I was 25 when I. Yeah.
And is that young by Dutch standards? Because I know every country it's different. Like, what's the average age in the Netherlands for people to start having kids?
25 is young. Yeah, for our generation, 25 is young. So I see that most of my friends of my age are 30 plus at least.
Yeah. But it's probably nice being a young parent, right? Like.
Yeah, it's the best. I can honestly really recommend it. But of course, yeah, it's not the standard. So people always have questions around it, especially if after that you start freelancing your career with such uncertainty in income.
A lot of stress.
Yeah, but I was very confident because I always thought I still love and I loved recruiting. I love making people happy. And I was like, I'm going to make it a success. If you have the mindset that you want to make something a success.
So Zoe happened while you were working at that corporate job, right?
Yes, I was pregnant with Zoe while I was at the corporate job. I came back after my maternity leave and found it like, meh. Yeah, I think my work here is done.
And then is that when you decided to start a business now that you're done agency
Yeah,
and corporate?
yeah.
So this is what, 6 years ago now? 6.5 years ago?
7.5 years ago.
7.5 years ago. And how did you, like, now give us the full background, right? Because it's a stressful decision to say I'm not going to get a salary anymore and I'm just going to do a business, right? Like looking
Yeah.
at it sounds nice because you're like such a smart decision. I'm making so much money now, but when you're going into it, it's nerve-wracking. So one, how did you decide what specific business you were getting into? What did you decide, like how did you know you had enough money in the bank to like support it for a certain number of months?
Yeah.
Did you start it alone?
Um,
Partner? Just like the basic rundown, because the entire reason we do this podcast is for this part, right?
mhm.
How did you think about the start and how did it work out so that people can get inspired, sort of by your story?
So I really believe there's like 4 or 5 different types of people when
Yeah.
it comes to entrepreneur. I am the type of entrepreneur that doesn't think through and just does things because it feels good.
But that's bad
Um,
advice, right? Like,
yeah, so it's the worst advice I can give everyone. No, because I think it's there's not one formula for success. My formula was I found something I'm very good at.
Mhm.
I have the trust that people want to work with me, and I have given myself 3 months. That was my only, I think, really well focus point. I gave myself 3 months to prove that I can make an income.
and did you set a rule for what the proving was? Did you say I need to make at least 1,000, 3,000, 10,000? Like, was there a number you set for yourself?
Yes, I set for myself the same salary I received when I left my permanent job.
So you were literally like, I need to make 4, 5, 6,000, whatever that
Yeah.
was in the third month.
Yes, within 3 months, I need to have either a job or a project or a client that can give me that income for another few months in order to survive.
So you literally went out and started with like 3 months of cash in the bank, and if it didn't work, you would get a job.
Yeah.
And how did it actually pan out? Did you end up getting money in like the first month or 3 months or
Yeah, I think it took me 10 days
to get?
to get a project that was already doubling basically my salary for the first quarter.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that was already, of course, a very good fuel. Like, okay, apparently this was a good decision. And from there on, it only went easier and easier. So that first hurdle is very exciting, and that's a conversation I have with lots of.
And what kind of project was this? Was this like a staffing project? Was this like a permanent recruitment project? Like, what was your first revenue? Like, what kind of a project was it?
No, this was a project, a high volume recruitment project.
Okay.
Where I got personally paid on an hourly rate.
Oh, okay. That's perfect for starting out, where it's very predictable and guaranteed.
Yeah, very predictable, guaranteed, and I got a contract for 6 months. But on a freelancing base. Next to that, I could easily service other clients because I got a contract for 40 hours, but the actual work they expected, I could do it in 20 hours. So I was basically making double in half of the time. And I asked them like, hey, I would like to service some other clients next to this because I got people from my network that heard that Sacha is going solo. And I don't want to have a conflict of interest. Is it okay if I also work for them? And they said, as long as you're not working on the same roles, it's fine.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And so you were literally making double and then plus more.
Yeah.
That must have been mind blowing, right? Like where you're like, suddenly I'm doing the same thing and I'm making thrice as much from what I was.
Oh my God. I still have a picture of my first invoice that got paid, which was like an immense amount. It was like 1/3 of my normal annual salary. And this was the invoice for 1 month.
That's crazy.
And I remember because when I started my own business, my boyfriend also started his own business. So everybody in our direct environment called us out and they were like, you're crazy. You have a newborn baby. you're going to start up a business. He's going to start up a business. Who's going to feed the baby when things go south, right? But we always had, I think, a very confident way of approaching life in general. Like, we'll figure it out, right? We believe that we're doing something that is successful, that people want to pay us for, and we have confidence.
If you were able to get a client to like sign a contract in 10 days, you're fine. Like it wasn't like years of struggle, right?
No.
But so, and Sacha, if you're willing to share, did you end up making more than 100 grand your first year doing this?
Yeah. Yes.
And that's more than double what you were making before, right?
It was almost triple. Yeah.
The first year, like in the first, which is rare, right? Most people don't make any money the first 1 or 2 years.
True.
And so was the entire business just you at that point, where you were just picking up whatever projects you got, doing it and getting paid?
Yeah, it was just me. And then when I had too much projects going my way, I had a few freelancers that I knew from my inner circle that helped me out. They were, I think, a bit less commercial.
Got it.
So I gave them the job and we just split the fee. So I still was making money because of the work they were doing.
Because you did the relationship and you actually got the projects and stuff, which is fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
But when did you make this a company with more people, and how did that transition go? Because that's another big transition, right? Going from just doing stuff yourself to actually being responsible for paying someone's salary so their family gets fed.
Yeah.
How did you think about it?
How did that go? So I did. I worked by myself and with a small group of freelancers for about 2.5, 3 years. And then at that point, I came to that point that I had more demand than resources. So I had a lot of clients that we were working for, well, that I was working for, and they knew I had a little sort of team behind me, helping me. And it just kept on coming, and it kept on coming.
At this point, had you already incorporated a company and had a logo and a website and all of that, or it was just you had that set up already?
Very basic. So we had a very basic landing page, which was just more as an FYI for you know.
This is a real business and not just like.
Yes, it's people actually working here. You can look me up. I'm legit, but nothing fancy like that. No, it was late 2017.
Yeah.
When I was pregnant with my second baby. And it was 7 months pregnant. So it was time-wise very bad timing. For me, it was good timing because I always do everything on gut feel, what I told you.
I figured that out in this interview, right? The timing's like if for a normal person, it would be a ridiculous time for all the decisions you made, but it's worked out, like it's literally worked out financially. So
for me, it worked out. And I honestly believe, and I have a lot of conversations with aspiring entrepreneurs, and they're like, yeah, but first I want to do this, and oh, the lights are going off here.
Well, the internet is working, which is good.
Yeah, you still can see me, right? A lot of aspiring entrepreneurs say, yeah, but first I need to do some travel. First I want to make some babies. First I want to do this. First I want to do that. There's never a good time. There's literally never a good time. The only time is when...
Because your opportunity cost keeps going up, right? As you're older. If you're 35 and you're making 100 grand instead of 30 grand, your opportunity cost is triple, right?
Yeah.
You have older kids and they have more needs, right? Like,
true.
Totally makes sense. But did you ever, so were you always, quote unquote, like, did you make a profit every quarter in operations, or did you have a time where you hired a bunch of people and it didn't work?
No, I never, thank God, I never had debts. And to be honest, Sean, I am not that's why I have a really good co-founder now. I am not the type of person that does everything based on numbers, as you have heard, because I do everything on gut feel.
Got it.
But then at one point you come to that point. So at the end of 2017, I decided I want to expand the team. I want to have more people so we can service more clients, so we can be more successful, without a whole plan behind it. I had no business plan. I had really literally said, okay, there's money in the bank. My goal was to do every year better than the year before. I managed to do that over the last few years.
So would it be accurate to say that every quarter your bank balance increased?
Yeah.
The story? You never had a time when it was like you were making losses and losing money? Never happened.
No, I never had the fact that I was losing money. But of course, at one point there, we had to do investments because people cost money. A bigger office costs money. You need to buy people.
That would be capex, right? But
Yeah.
no operating, no situation where you're paying more salaries than you're billing clients,
No,
right?
never.
And you said something unique, right? That you brought in a co-founder. You didn't have a co-founder on day one.
No.
So how does that work? How did you find the co-founder? How did you decide the partnership? Because obviously this is not an equal relationship now because you already have a business and you already have stuff. So how did you decide whether that person gets 5% or 50% or 10%? And how did you think about that?
Well, I started the recruitment business all by myself. Okay. And then expanded the team with a few recruiters. But what our specialty is, what our focus is to bring international talent to the Netherlands. The Netherlands is a small country. We have an extreme shortage on IT professionals, and I saw an opportunity there. A lot of agencies in the Netherlands are very much, sticking to their old methods, recruiting people that are local. But if you have such a shortage, the problem is people are outbidding each other, paying immense, crazy salaries for people that will probably get.
As an expert, fun question, right? What does the average developer in the Netherlands make with 5 or 6 years of work ex?
At the moment, I would say somewhere between 65 and 80K in euros.
Euros. That's not bad at all. It's actually, I would say that's a little higher than the UK for a similar level of work ex.
Yeah.
Now, the salaries are different in London and smaller cities. Is that in the Netherlands? Does Amsterdam have higher salaries than the rest?
Definitely. Yeah, the closer you get to the bigger cities like Amsterdam and Rotterdam, the higher the salaries are. Also, the bigger the competition is, and also the cost of living is more expensive.
But what's the gap like? So like for example, where I live, right? The difference between a big city and a small city can be literally two times for the same job.
No, it's not that big, but it's at least, I would say, it can be like up to a 10K difference on an annual base.
Okay, so 20%.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But you wanted to know how I got in with my co-founder. Yeah. So what I told you, in 2017, I started the agency. Late 2018, I saw another opportunity because we were hiring like crazy, and we were hiring people from all over the world, convincing clients it's not scary, and we were selling relocation options as an upsell because I've been doing that since 2015, so I knew what I was doing.
And now, how do you package this offering? Because this is pretty unique. Like, how do you charge for? It's very easy to understand how you charge for a placement. You take a percentage or an hourly rate. But how do you charge for these international? Like, what's the economics on it?
It's combined of a few factors. So one, there's a standard fee that we have to pay to the Dutch immigration services, and it costs us hours. So basically, our package prices are calculated based on the hours that we put in. If you can imagine, if we hire a single person from Bangalore to work here, for example, it's much easier than if I hire that same person who brings a wife and 3 kids. Yeah, so that's also why the packaging is different for a single person than for a family, because a family not only costs more in terms of visa and support, but also the children need to go to school. So you need to support them with finding the right school. You need to find them a good house in a nice neighborhood where their kids can make friends, where their wife won't be lonely when everybody is out for the day. So that's why there's a difference there. And it's also a difference in company culture. So some companies really understand if you give people the right support and landing in the beginning of their career, they will stick with you. They will be loyal because you gave them a nice opportunity and a good landing. That's the kind of companies we want to work with. But there's also companies that still see a lot of candidates or hires as means to an end, right? And we need hands to build our product quicker, and therefore they just give the bare minimum.
They just want to put butts on the seats, right?
Butts on the seats, yeah.
that they have.
There's no problem with butts in the seats, but then you can also not expect to have the full VIP treatment, right?
Yep. You can't expect them to stay with you for like the next 5, 6 years, 7 years when someone else is giving them an extra 10K, right?
Well,
Like,
I think here you can already be happy if somebody stays with you for 2 years.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Is that bad though? Because I was always under the impression that the Netherlands was all about these traditional companies where people work for decades, like Randstad.
Used to be, but since the Netherlands is also such a attractive place, they call it European Silicon Valley now. There's so many startups and scale-ups and cool tech companies rising on a daily basis that I can understand as a techie, it's like a candy store. Everybody wants you. You can work literally anywhere. You can work on super cool technologies. And after 1 year of working at such a dynamic scale-up, you have learned more than you would have 10 years in a big consultancy.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
We still didn't go to your founder story, right? Like,
oh, and the lights went on. Yay!
awesome.
No, the relocation business started first as an upsell.
Okay.
Up until a point that I saw there's a business model here as well, right? It's not just, oh, we can get your candidates here for this and this amount. I thought there's a whole industry of companies that have a recruitment up to date, but have no idea how to get more international talent attracted to them. And therefore they just don't touch it because it's scary. We have a Dutch saying, which basically says, if you don't know it, don't touch it.
Yeah, it's too confusing, right? There's too many cultural roadblocks, language roadblocks, and so on. And so how does your co-founder come into this story?
We got connected through mutual friends. She said, you guys should have coffee. And every time people say that, I end up building something new or investing in something. So don't ask me for coffee. Yeah. We had a really good chemistry from day one. And I told her my idea of, okay, so we are doing relocation as an upsell, but I think we should build a whole business around this, but I have no time, no focus. Yeah. And she has always worked with expats. She comes also from the fashion background, always did a lot of traveling, and was one of the most frustrating things that if people landed in the Netherlands, but also in other countries where she had to work, there was nobody that just took you by the hand and got you up and running in those first few weeks. Like, it was all figuring it out by yourself. And if you're not such a social person, it can be very lonely and scary, and also a way for people to not even go there, right?
Yeah,
if you know,
like I don't want to go to this random place because it seems too hard. Right?
Yeah.
But so now that you talked to her and she became your co-founder, was it like a 50-50 partnership in this new company, which is separate from your other business? So
yes, we set up a 50-50 partnership from day one. Because I really believe in trust. I had the idea, she had the execution.
Got it.
And she took a few months to write a business plan. So now you already see why we are so good co-founders. She did it by the book. She wrote a business plan. She knew exactly what kind of income we needed and when we needed it and how many clients we needed. And then we started selling. And well, the rest is history. Since then,
but these are two different businesses, right? So this is the other core pure play recruitment business. You own the whole thing, or most of the business, right?
Yeah.
So now today, like out of 5 days a week, how much time do you spend on each of these businesses?
It's very, very difficult to make a calculation there. A lot has changed since a few months, because we had two businesses, which was both doing very good by themselves, and we had some clients where we had some overlap. Yeah. But we saw there's much more strength in combining the two businesses, because it basically goes hand in hand. From the moment you recruit somebody and they're not from here, you need to relocate them as well. So we said in September 2020, we're gonna officially merge it together, and we're gonna do a rebranding. And we are going to be the agency in the Netherlands where you need to go to if you want to hire tech talents, tech professionals, and we look where the best talent is. And sometimes they are around the corner, but most of the time they're not.
Got it. And now how did you figure out the ownership transition? Because now this becomes unique, right? You have an existing business that's working, you have another business where you're 50-50. Do you just come
Yeah,
in, I'm 75-25 now? Like how do you, is
a
that
lot of conversations,
okay?
and also a lot of, I would say, realistic nights with a lot of alcohol, looking in the mirror, talking to friends, people that you trust, and also accepting that I wouldn't have been where I am now without her, and also the other way around.
Got it.
And because we are such a good yin and yang, we really make each other better, and we make our business better, and we can grow the team better. And therefore, we said from the day that we're going to rebrand, we're going to build a new business name, new structure, and it's going to be 50-50.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because that takes a lot of like, especially from a friend to say, hey, I'm going to give you 50% of everything else that I've built too. So that's incredible. And so now coming towards the end of this, right? Where is the business at today? Like, what's the team look like? What are the numbers like roughly that, it's more current numbers. So we don't need you to like share the exact thing. Like, are you guys doing more than 1 million, more than 2 million, more than 3 million? Like, where are you guys sitting at as a business?
Yeah. So at the moment, our team is 14 and growing.
Brilliant.
That is almost 50-50 divided within the recruitment and relocation. In both of the labels, we have high volume contracts with big companies, but also a lot of smaller contracts with smaller companies. So there's a good mix there. We ended 2020 on almost 1.5 million revenue.
Wow. Incredible.
And our plan is to double in 2021.
Which is very good, because you're literally talking about more than 100,000 per person per year.
Yeah.
In a services business, which has very good margins, and that's solid. And I'm guessing to make the 1.5 million, you didn't really have 14 people throughout. You probably grew that, right? So
yeah, because the team actually expanded somewhere around the summer of 2020. So for a long time, it was 4 or 5 people doing that.
Awesome. These are very, very good numbers relative to most agencies in that part of the world. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. No, and our plan. Well, we have quite an ambitious BHAG, but it's always good to be ambitious, especially with your BHAG. 250 clients with at least 10 projects.
Wow, that's a lot. Like that is that's like a $25 million business.
Yeah.
If it were, that's the goal.
But I know it sounds maybe ambitious, but on the other hand, I know it is doable. We have a really good team. We have a very good service. We see expansion needs in the Netherlands, and this is just our Dutch goal, right? We want to first have domination in the Netherlands, and then we will expand.
So there are plans to go outside the Netherlands as well.
I think if we reach this BHAG, we will expand internationally.
And as a business, right? Like, and this is a question business owners have to keep asking ourselves. How much profit do I want to make versus how much money do I just want to put back into the business and hire more people? And so all the clients you work with are these startups that are basically saying, hey, we're going to like reinvest, plus we're going to take all of this investor money and burn it as well. and they're maybe making 100% losses on top of it. For bootstrap businesses like mine and yours, we can't really make $1.5 million and lose $1.5 million. We probably have to either make a profit or be break even. So are you trying to operate the business at that break even point, or are you trying to make 20% profit every year just so you have a balance sheet, like, bank balance that's increasing? How do you think about it?
We have a stable bank balance, but we also know 2021 is going to be a year of investments because the team has been growing rapidly. We have quite a big rebranding that we did. So you see that there's a lot of money going out, but also there's a lot of opportunity coming in.
Yep.
So I've honestly never been worried. If I still have the feeling that business is doing well, clients are happy, people are happy, the success will follow. And well, I've never had a thing with numbers. And the numbers have always been in my favor so far. So I also believe that it will be.
That's amazing. And so we talked about your growth plans. So now I have a couple fun questions, right? One, where are you at in your life? So you have 2 kids. We talked about that, and then you're with your boyfriend. And do you have like dogs, or do you have like cats, or do you have you have animals too?
Yeah, I have a dog and a cat.
That is the life. And so I'm visualizing this. Is this like a nice Dutch like country home with like a dog, a cat, 2 kids, or like you're more like a city person living in an apartment?
We live in a city, quite a big city close to Amsterdam, and we live almost in the city center.
Oh, got it. So you're very downtown.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And what would you? And this is the last question, right? That really matters. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Ooh. I love these kinds of questions.
Yeah.
I think if I could go back and give myself advice is to. I've never been a big doubter, but I was always somebody that could really think heavily of what others thought of me, and therefore make decisions or make no decisions, or it took very long to make certain decisions when I was younger. Now what I told you, I do everything just because it feels good, and I have nobody that I have to deliberate with. Maybe my co-founder now, or maybe my boyfriend sometimes with things. But even most of the time, I do things and then I explain why I did it. And I wish I would have done that earlier on in my life.
Guys, that's it with Sacha Martina, and her main piece of advice to all of you is don't give a shit about what other people think, right?
Yes, very much.
And it was awesome having you, Sacha, and thank you for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean. It was very nice, and thanks for having me. I look forward to the results.